Have you ever been judged on your looks?
I must say, I probably have, but I don't think anyone's ever judged me on what I look like. But I definitely have felt judged, but not necessarily in a bad way, but felt judged on how I behave and my personality and my accent. I think for me, it was more of a class judgment, and I really felt that growing up, rather than an aesthetic judgment.
Okay.
But maybe that's because I had...
Well, I definitely formed an opinion of you.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, most people do.
No, you do, because I thought, when I saw you on this, I thought, will you stop? You were nervous, and you were
Yeah, I do hyperventilate a bit if I get really
hyperventilating. And I thought, she's so smart, and she's got such a good voice, but what's she really like?
What's wrong with her?
No, it's interesting, because you do make snap judgments.
Yeah.
And also, me coming from West London, I would have an opinion about her accent.
Yeah. I thought our accents were quite similar.
But I really experienced it when I started off, first on the radio. People were outraged that I could have a daily radio show in London with a London accent. People were absolutely disgusted. I agree with Stacey that you're judged not so much, in modern Britain, you're not judged on your looks. You're judged on the minute you open your mouth, people think you're stupid or thick if you've got a working class or London accent. And on the BBC in particular, all you hear is Welsh accents, Scottish accents, or,
Irish accents.
Or Irish accents. You don't hear our accents, I'm afraid, on Radio 4 or BBC One.
There's not many of us anywhere, is there?
When Terry Wogan, my grandfather, you remember him, don't you? Bless him. When he was on Radio 2, the Irish accent became really very popular.
Yeah.
And in fact, I was in on the back of that, and Ken Bruce was in with a Scottish accent. And Terry always said that the Irish accent meant that, particularly in England, you were classless, because nobody knew where you were from, going back.
Yeah.
But I was very lucky in reverse. I mean, I'm sure I have been judged on all sorts of things, blondie or whatever. But in Northern Ireland, as I mentioned earlier, I was going to be a singer. That's what I was going to be. And I went on to the equivalent of the Radio 4's Today programme to be interviewed about a record I'd made. And at that time, there were really no women in Northern Ireland on television or radio, particularly, it was all men. And the producer of that programme rang me up the next day and said, have you ever thought about broadcasting? Which I never had. But how lucky was I? I was given the job. And the first day I was there, he took me into the newsroom. Now, this is at a time, bombs, bullets, barricades, in 1969. And he said, what do you see in the newsroom? And I went, I see a lot of men pounding away on typewriters then. And he said, well, remember, as a woman, you're not coming in to do the knitting and the sewing and the rest of it. He said, you'll be as good as any bloke sitting in this room, and you'll be out on the streets of Northern Ireland doing bombs, bullets and barricades like the rest. So from my point of view, I've never had to worry about sexism, or I've never thought about it really.
Yeah.
But what a forward-looking man.
Yeah, well, Stacey and I have experienced classism or class warfare. The first TV show I did with Clive James, I did a late-night talk show with Clive James and Russell Harty. One day I was talking to Russell Harty about opera, and Clive James literally turned to me and said, I didn't think people like you went to the opera. And I've been going to the opera with my godmother from the age of like 9 or 10.
Were you really offended?
I was totally offended. I said, I probably know more about the opera than you do.
You nearly did it there.
I feel so strongly about judging people by their accent. But I reeled it back in, because as a new star of Neighbours, I must not swear
don't want to sully your reputation.
I can't sully my reputation.
Andrew, how about you, though, on looks? Because you're a gorgeous-looking girl.
Well, I think for me, it was more on job title.
Yeah.
Because obviously my first break in telly was presenting the weather. And I think, there you go, there's me presenting the weather. That was a long time ago.
You look the same.
And what I found interesting was my background was journalism. And the opportunity came to present the weather, and I took it and thought, well, I'll see how long this lasts. Found I really enjoyed it. I trained to do it. But what I found was people automatically thought, oh, you're just a weather girl. And that got on my nerves, because I thought, you don't know anything about me, and you're literally just judging me, you know, and it was around the time of, do you remember like the Nicole Kidman film where she played a weather girl? Was it called To Die For?
Yeah. It was
And she was very malicious and kind of grasping.
Yes.
And any film that you ever see a weather presenter in, look at Anchorman. I mean, look at lovely Steve Carell. They're either stupid or conniving, so they don't really have the best sort of reputation. So I think I was judged on job rather than anything else. And when I first started here, it was a bit, what the hell's a weather girl doing anchoring a show? Hopefully 12 years on, I've proved that I can do it. It's taken a wee while. But yeah, I think people kind of make assumptions for all sorts of reasons. You judgy
Judgy people,
exactly.
you.